What was gained from that panel, an hour-long panel today?
Right. Well, first of all, I think doing stuff like this is fun. It's fun not just to preach to the choir. It's fun to go into the trenches and try to spread your message to people who might not have heard that before. I mean, if you just spend all your time listening to those on the left, listening to their talking points, then you are going to look at President Trump and think, well, why is he doing what he's doing? Why is he the way that he is? If all you're listening to is, for lack of a better word, fake news. So this is my opportunity to show people the truth, to tell people the truth, and to apply it to those actual situations. So that I really appreciate.
So you look at it as an extension of what you do on your show on Tipping Point as an opportunity to just enlighten people.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now, what did you learn?
What did I learn? Well, I learned that the stereotype of the left is accurate, that when they don't have any answer to facts, when they don't have any underlying principles to their political policies, they resort to name-calling and baseless accusations of racism. It's a little bit sad to have that enlightenment that stereotype is true, but I mean, you could see it for yourself. I choose to call it fireworks. I'm happy to be in that environment, be the one standing up for conservative principles, but they do resort immediately to screaming, emotion, vulgarity, name-calling, and calling people racist left and right.
Well, I want to touch on that. I was going to touch on it later, but you just set me up perfectly, the perfect segue. The role
just
of...
that I'm making your job easier.
Thank you. We're working together. One American News. The role of drama and conflict when it comes to your show, and when it comes to what you just went through, and when it comes to some of the mainstream media. Does it have a role? Is it valuable?
Sure, it's
Do you look for it?
Well, I don't look for a fight. I don't look to dehumanize other people. I don't look to call them names that they don't deserve and to be disrespectful of their dignity as a person, hint, hint, to some on the left. But yeah, entertainment is how you keep people's attention. And especially in this day and age, I think we have very, very small attention spans. So there's some element of drama that's necessary to capture people's attention and bring them in so that they hear what you say. So yes, that's what we do on our show. That's why we do very quick, fast-paced stories. That's why we have every night we have a debate with a Democrat about the topic of the day, because there is a little fireworks and people like to see that. So the entertainment part is one thing, but we also have an adversarial type of political system. That's actually how our founders designed our country, so that you have two sets of ideas, two conflicting sets of ideas, and you bring them to the public and you say, this is what I stand for, this is why I stand for this, and the other side says, this is what I stand for, this is why I stand for this, and you go head to head, and at the end of the day, that allows people to watch it, to listen, and to decide who they want to vote for and why.
It's been happening since the 1700s, but we've got social media now.
We don't have duels anymore. We don't shoot each other.
We just have retweets and tweets.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Well, let me talk on your panel today. The founder of the Young Turks. You know, like you said, adversarial. That nature is great. Drama builds conflict. Conflict, drama. People appreciate that. But it's also all got to be true. I want to hear your response to. He did say that the Obama administration had the economy growing at 5%. He puts that out there.
Right.
People move on. Those in the crowd listen to it. Of course, there were cameras. And then everyone moves on. Talk about just the nature of someone saying what they want and people accepting it, and then but not acknowledging the fact that it could be wrong.
It could be fake news. Well, I think there's a principle in marketing, and I forget what it's called. I'm sure our viewers will email me with the actual name of it, where you can say something 7 times. It takes 7 times for people to accept it as truth. That's why marketers want you to see their advertisements 7 times before you decide to purchase their product. And if you are not interested in being open-minded, if it's something that challenges your worldview, how you voted, who you consider yourself to be, then you're not going to question it. And if people, you know, like the liberals on that panel, continue to repeat false information over and over again, it becomes normalized to the people who listen to them on a regular basis, who probably don't listen as often to conservatives who are presenting another view, or in this case, the truth.
And he also pointed out, and this is obviously a left talking point, and it will be obviously into the midterms and after the midterms, that U.S. citizens cause way more crime than anyone coming north whether it's in a caravan or by themselves, crossing into the border illegally. Your thoughts on that and how he may or may not have gotten that wrong?
Well, that's just fake news, what he said. I mean, you can look at the statistics, and he cited a think tank. All think tanks have biases, whether it's to the left or to the right. So I brought my nerd statistics with me.
Okay.
Right. Usually these are on the table in front of me. I brought some nerd statistics. These are from actually Obama's Justice Department and the Obama administration. And I want to share some of these statistics. In 2014, almost 50% of federal crimes were committed near the Mexican border. So there's no other explanation for that other than, cartels, drug trafficking, human trafficking that happen across our border. That's
geography matters.
Right. Yes. It does matter. We also have from the U.S. Sentencing Commission, illegals accounted for 75% of federal drug sentences in 2014. Then we also have the statistic that I mentioned during the panel that illegal immigrants make up about 3.5% of our population in our country, yet criminal convictions, they account for 13.6% of those convictions, including I think it's 12% of murders and 16% of trafficking offenses. Those are simply, you can look at the conviction rates, you can look at the crime statistics from the FBI, from the Trump administration or the Obama administration. You can read it for yourself and determine who's true.
One more, just to finish on this point, as a host, and you've got your notes, your nerd notes in front of you, and you throw these facts, these right down to the decimal in terms of percentage. People push back on that still.
Yeah.
How do you fight that? I mean, that's what we're doing. We're pushing back on facts, right? I mean, it's hard to. Is it hard to combat that as a host?
Well, in a panel situation, you don't have one-on-one time, so you can't really, press in on somebody. But what I usually do on my show, if someone challenges a fact which I've researched and I know is correct, then I say, prove me wrong. How is that statistic incorrect? And they can't answer it if it is correct. So put them on the spot there, because it's very easy. They want to discount that. They want to brush it off because it doesn't substantiate their agenda. But if you just sit there and say, well, show me where the error is, show me what the real number is, generally they can't.
Right. A couple more quick ones. At One American News, throughout most of the day, 24 hours of news. We've got a couple of great talk shows with you and Graham Ledger, the Daily Ledger. It's headline-driven news.
Yes.
A lot in, say, the first 8 minutes in my newscast and all of the newscasts. Talk about, if you were, put yourself in the shoes. By the way, and this is a biased opinion, but I think we're doing it right. And we hear that from our viewers all the time.
We hear it all the time. That's what all the feedback is. People love the way our format is.
Exactly. It's formatting. Talk about, if you were a media head and you were a head of, say, a Fox or a CNN, what would you change? What are they getting wrong? How do you cover this president so that people don't keep beating him up, and in terms of how they're covering this president? Because there's a way to cover this guy. I think we're doing it right. What are your thoughts on just the way that they're doing it, what they could do better?
Well, bring journalism, make journalism great again, if you will, excuse the pun. There's a difference. And of course, you're a straight journalist, you talk the straight news. I talk opinion commentary, and there's a place for both. People want to see both. They want to be able to tune in and see just the headlines and know what happened during the day. They also want to hear what someone thinks of it, someone who they already know agrees with them ideologically. Well, what do you think of it? Because it is confusing sometimes to hear about it. There are a lot of nuances. So, I mean, not to sound biased, I like the way that we're doing it. I think we're doing a really good job of balancing, reporting the straight news and having that commentary for people who want to hear commentary. The liberal networks just need to get back to actual ethical journalism, where if you're pretending to be a journalist, you report the facts and you report them honestly. If you are not doing either of those two things, then you're billed as a pundit and not someone who's telling the truth.
Right. I want to bounce this off of you with regards to the president's defiance at times, according to the mainstream media, when it comes to his response to something, be it small or worldwide, whether it's Russia, something that Vladimir Putin's doing, or the Khashoggi murder and how the Saudis are, performing their investigation, or the Charlottesville incident. The way the media seems to put a lot of pressure on the way they feel the president should respond.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the fact that, are they not getting the idea that he might just be pushing back on the fact that he knows they expect that from him, and he doesn't want to be told how to respond to something? Because I feel like there's a lot there. They're not getting inside, and you can't get inside the president's head, but I feel like the mainstream media is not, they're giving him a lot of flack for not responding in the right way. He's not going to do what they want him to do.
Well, one of his expertises is trolling his opposition. You know, he keeps them
Exactly.
running. We saw that with Elizabeth Warren. What other president could ever have made Senator Warren take a DNA test that showed that she was 1/1024th Native American, maybe, and actually have her publish that? He plays his opponents like a fiddle, and I love it because I'm a Trump supporter. I know his opponents, it makes them crazy, but I think the reason the left focuses on his responses is because they don't want to focus on his record. The only thing they can do is focus on him as a person, focus on everything that comes out of his mouth, every tweet that he sends on his Twitter account, because they don't want to talk about what he's done to the economy. They don't want to talk about his support for our Constitution, our Second Amendment, right to bear arms, our First Amendment, right to, you know, free speech and freedom of religion, all of these different things. He doesn't want to talk about our standing in the world, how he's decimated ISIS. They don't want to talk about his record because most people in our country who are outside of the political bubble that we live in care most about how they're doing, whether they're safe, whether they're secure, whether they can make money, and whether they can provide for their families. And Trump has made people's lives in general better than President Obama did, and the media can't stand that.
All right, and maybe they'll figure out a way to cover it. At this point, it's not happening.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold your breath.
Yeah, right. Well, last one. What's next for Tipping Point? We're just a couple weeks out from the midterms. Who are you talking to? What are you focusing on? What do you want to accomplish? This is a crucial election. What's coming up?
It is. So what we've been focusing on the last week, we're going to continue this through the election. It's something that we do pretty frequently anyway, is we cover the underreported stories, the little nuggets of truth that are brushed aside by the mainstream media because they decimate the liberal narrative. We're going to talk about them. We're going to tell you the facts. We're going to tell you the truth. You can look in Missouri. We've been covering the story about Senator Claire McCaskill. She was caught on undercover video saying that she would support a gun ban, that she accepts Planned Parenthood donations, but don't tell her voters, she said, because she's telling them that she's a moderate. That's the story we cover because voters in Missouri need to know that. They need to know who they're voting for.
All right. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.